the first park that they were working in which was called Parc Imagir, it was state-owned land, and again, because they'd been turfed out of the park in La Paz, there was always that fear that maybe a change of politics, a new mayor, might completely change the circumstances in Machia. And it was, it was a bigger area, it's 36 hectares, I believe, but that soon got very full. If you're taking cats for a walk on a daily basis, cats are territorial, so you can't have them crossing paths with each other, and so it was a very, very well thought out but slightly chaotic kind of system where people would shout saying "Cat's on his way" and "Right, Sonka's going to hold back then," and so they didn't actually cross paths with each other. But it was tough. But again, it was about trying to give these animals as good a quality of life as possible, particularly ones that couldn't be released. But they got to a point where it was just getting really tough to accept more animals. They didn't want to turn anyone away, but it was just getting too full. And this was when myself and the organisation I was working with, Quest, here in the UK, got to learn about parks. This was back in 2002. We link up with a number of different projects in Latin America and give them extra support with volunteers and with funding. And we were potentially looking for a new partnership for a project in Bolivia, and we learned about the guys in CIWY. So we went up to meet them, and they were saying, well, we are at a point where we're really struggling with this land, and we're not sure what's going to happen with it in the future. What we'd really love is to have our own land, and it's well, okay, well, we might be able to help. And so I said to them on the phone, so we can come over in about 3 months' time and potentially be able to support you with their purchase of some land if that's going to work out. But obviously, my bosses and trustees want to be sure that this is going to something that's going to work well. So perhaps over the next few months, sort of this look for some appropriate places, and then we can have a look while I'm over there. And in Bolivia, there's not really a land for sale estate agent, I suppose there is anywhere, is there? But not particularly over there. And so, and obviously they have animals to look after and a lot to do. They've got their day job to keep going. And so I remember when I got there, they'd done nothing. We got there, we had a week to go and sort of visit all these potentially new areas of forest that we were going to buy. But because in South America things don't usually happen until the very last minute, they'd contacted these guys out in one area of Bolivia where it really wasn't appropriate. It was obviously a last minute thing. They said, right, let's get in touch with someone, let's go to the Chiquitana forest, which wasn't really right for kind of housing these sorts of animals. It was really dry forest. If you took a spider monkey in there, all the trees would have fallen to pieces. And so after a couple of days, they obviously felt they really wanted to kind of show that they'd been doing the research, but they hadn't. But you could see that the passion was there. And so, okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world if we go back empty-handed this time. But it would be great if we could develop something at this point. And they said, all right, then let's go to a different part of Bolivia. And it really was the whole country. They had this map. It was almost like a Fisher-Price map of Bolivia, saying, okay, where should we go? Trinidad, the jungle there. And we were sat on the roadside trying to get some rice, and we didn't have a vehicle or anything, so we were just hitchhiking, and this truck pulled up and said, are you going to Trinidad? And I said, well, no, I'm going to Guarayos, which is on the way. So, okay, that will do. And again, it was just a case of getting a lift to this one area, which we hadn't thought of going there, and we got to the town, and the following morning met up with the mayor, because that was what had been done before, and he wasn't actually available, but one of his staff was, and said, look, looking to potentially set up a refuge in this area. What do you think? He said, well, actually, I know the perfect place, but it's about an hour away, and we haven't got a vehicle, but the mayor's got a car, and he's trying to sell some land. So if we tell him that you're interested in buying his land, he'll lend us his car. I can drive you to look at his land, which is rubbish, and then we can look at this other place. And so this is what we did. So we went over to his land. It had already been deforested. I think he'd used it as a cattle farm or something, so it wasn't appropriate at all. But so right, let's go the other way. And we went to this area, and it was just beautiful. I mean, it's an area where there has been a lot of deforestation. There's been even more recently. It's a very popular area for cattle grazing and for soya plantation plantations and sunflowers and all sorts. But this one area had been developed a little bit for cacao, for chocolate plants, but they need shelter, they need shade, I think, to grow well, the cacao, and so the forest was kind of largely maintained, which was good, but we met up with the owner there who was getting on, and he just wanted to be done with the shop the forest and of his land, and so we managed to come to an agreement with him, and it was literally just in the last 24 hours that I happened to be there at that point, that he said, oh, go on then, all right, and we managed to go down to a lawyer's office that afternoon, signed it up, and off we went. But the interesting thing about that visit, I mean, it was wonderful to get the land. I mean, it was 800 hectares, we had 36 hectares in the first park, and this was so much bigger, it was their own land, you know, it meant that, you know, whatever they built there was actually going to stay. You know, the enclosures in Machia were perhaps the size of this room, maybe smaller than some of the cats, but in Ambue Ari there was scope to build 60 metre by 60 metre enclosures and really give them, you know, a decent quality of life to the animals that weren't going to be released. But it was great. The one thing I remember from that trip though was not getting the land, which was fantastic. It was afterwards where I had to get back to Santa Cruz for a flight about 6 hours later, and so getting the bus back overnight. And just as we were waiting for the bus to leave, we were sat in the kind of the fruit market every little town has, and just having a banana milkshake or something to celebrate. And there were the two heads of the organisation, Juan Carlos and Nena. Nena, she had gone off to the toilet and sat with Juan Carlos, and this small child, like 15 years old, came up selling an ocelot. A small version of the jaguar, don't know what it is. And so I'm trying to sell this live ocelot, and very, you know, still a baby, he was selling it as a pet. And Juan Carlos called over to him and said, are you selling that ocelot? I said, yeah, I am, yeah. Bought it for $30, want to make some money for my family, I'm selling it for 50. And I kept very quiet, I thought to see how they deal with this. And he was kind of, that's interesting, I might be interested. And he was kind of looking over, almost as if he was looking around a car or something, you know, just kind of stroking, yeah, you know, it seems in good condition. And the kid was getting really excited, I'm going to make a sale here. And there was a crowd forming as well, you know, everybody around, he was obviously from the local area. And they wanted, and you know, so they said, oh, is he going to make a sale and all this? And by then there must have been about 20 people who stood around us. And Nena came back, and this was obviously something that they'd done as a team before. And so she came back, and these guys had actually been given permission to arrest people because, on, you know, for trafficking, for animal trafficking. So when Nena came back from the toilet, she, you know, the kid was over the moon by then, and she came, do you know what that is? I said, yes, an ocelot. She said, no, that's 2 years in prison. And this poor kid's face dropped, and I said, do you realise what you're doing? This poor animal, you know, it's come from the wild, you know, do you not care about this? How much time have you spent with it? And so I've had it for a few weeks, and I do care. I want to make sure it goes to a good home, and he was all very defensive then, and a lot of the people around, she said, oh, I know who you guys are, you're from CIWY, and so they were supporting them as well. Well, not so much supporting them, but curious about what they were going to do. And they said, well, basically, we can't buy this ocelot because that's illegal. After he said, I really want to make sure it goes to a good home, but we can give it a good home. We're going back to our original park in Machia, we're getting on the bus in 10 minutes' time, we're going to have to take it off you, we can't give you the money, but if you want to help set it up in the park, or pay for your bus ticket, or, you know, you can spend a few days with us in Machia, you can see where he's actually going to go, and then we'll bring you back afterwards. And he said, oh, I'm not sure about this. And anyway, so we took the ocelot, and we bought the kind of 3 of the 5 back seats on the back of the bus, and we had to buy the other 2 just to kind of give us a bit more room, because the ocelot wasn't in a cage or anything, he was just like walking around. And literally, as the bus was about to leave, this child came on and said, well, I'll come with you. And this was a 15-year-old, and said, have you told your mother? I'll give her a call when I'm there. Okay. But it was a crazy journey coming back, because obviously for the next 5 hours heading back to Santa Cruz, this ocelot was just basically prowling up and down our thighs, sort of just walking over us for the whole journey.